You won't believe this. I have good news coming out of Texas, which we don't get to say it much. I know that last story sure felt like a good news story, but this has to do with the elections this week. There was some good news out of Texas, which is that the third largest school district in the state of Texas, it's the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District, or Cy-Fair, for years now. Their Board of Education has been dominated by conservatives. Look at the dateline on this, November 9th, 2023. And you could see from this article, Republican endorsed candidates dominate the Cy-Fair school board race. And basically, for a couple years now, conservatives have had like a 6-1 supermajority on that school board, so they could do whatever the hell they wanted. And spoiler, it just ended this week, but we got to talk about how bad it was for a couple of years. So what did this conservative majority school board do? It is wild, some of the stuff they did. Check out this headline. All of this is within the last 2 years. Cy-Fair ISD trustees vote to omit textbook chapters about topics such as climate change and vaccines. They ripped chapters out of the state-approved textbooks in Texas. Texas was like, these textbooks are fine, and they're not conservative enough. These textbooks are woke. Look at this. Trustees for the third largest school district in Texas voted to omit a series of science textbook chapters that address subjects like climate change, vaccinations, cultural diversity, depopulation, and human impact on the earth and its ecosystems. Really? You're going to get rid of the vaccine chapter shortly after COVID? That seems short-sighted and dumb. And I want you to get familiar with this lady's name right here. Trustee Natalie Blasingame, having reviewed 25 textbooks as part of a committee, made the motion to remove a total of 13 chapters from 5 of those books, used in biology, environmental science, earth systems, health science theory, and principles of education and training. So even in a book about the principles of education, she doesn't want them talking about cultural diversity. And in biology, she doesn't want them learning about climate change or vaccines. And they're ripping them out of the book, basically. You can't have them. We don't want kids to see it. They might accidentally learn something. So that's one thing these people did at the school board. What else did they do? Oh, they have no money in the district, so they had to cut corners somewhere. So what did they do? Cy-Fair Independent School District community members critique trustees and state leaders in response to librarian cuts. Look at this. The board members revealed that 50 librarian positions were being eliminated in response to a budget shortfall. They were losing money, and instead of saying, hey, Greg Abbott, why don't you help public education in this state? They were like, why don't we get rid of the librarians? Half of them. I think they had fewer than 100 librarians in the whole district. They got rid of 50 of them because, who needs librarians? No one needs them in a school district. And by the way, what happens when you fire all those librarians? Check out this headline. Cy-Fair's independent school district's libraries are frequently closed after trustees cut librarian positions in half. Yeah, so at a school, the libraries in the school were we're only open on Friday now because that's when we can have a librarian. I feel like that's not too far from saying we only get the school nurse on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So don't get hurt or sick the other days of the week. That's how dumb this policy was. So that's another thing they did. Here's another one. They passed an unnecessary policy requiring any library purchases from the librarians who were left over to go through a 30-day public review process. So if a librarian says, oh, there's a popular book coming out soon from a really popular author, you don't just get to buy the book. You don't just get to put in the order for the book. You have to post a memo about it so the public has 30 days to weigh in because, maybe that book has a gay character in it and they want to complain. Normally, you let librarians make those decisions using their expertise and their profession's best practices, not in this school district. And also, they made it a lot easier to ban books they don't like. Check this out. Records obtained from the Houston area district show that of the 58 book reconsideration requests submitted just before the conservatives came into power, a total of 52 were made by a new board member, his wife, his campaign treasurer, and a lady who's the wife of another school board member. So this same cabal of conservatives tried to ban a bunch of books in the district, and like they were responsible for all the book bans. And then these conservatives took over the library. And then they gave themselves more power to ban books altogether. Check out this headline right here. We're rushing through the tabs here. Cyfair ISD trustees gain power in book banning process. Was there something highlighted here? I thought there was. Maybe there isn't. But basically, they just said we get to get like final say in which books are banned. So that's another thing they did. What else did they do here? Do you remember in Texas, they passed a law saying school districts are allowed to hire chaplains in lieu of hiring trained social workers or counselors? Texas passed that law, and they said every school district needs to vote on this. Do you want chaplains at your school? And I'm grateful to say they did not say yes to this. But look at this. The Cyfair ISD Board of Trustees voted 5-2. This is in March of 2024. They voted 5-2 against allowing chaplains to volunteer or work in schools alongside counselors. But trustees Natalie Blasingame, there's her name again, and Christine Kalmbach were the two dissenting votes on the measure. So those two ladies at the bottom there, they were like, we definitely want Christian chaplains in the school. So that's what they were trying to do. And I think, one more thing here. This is another thing they did. This is last August. They voted unanimously to approve Bible-focused elective courses for this school year. Basically, they said yes to allowing elective classes on like Bible and literature, which is maybe fine if it's taught, objectively, which it almost never is. But they voted for that too, because listen, so what if we have to fire librarians? Surely we can hire teachers to teach Bible classes. That's got to be okay. So that's what this school district did. And the last thing I will tell you is that that Texas has passed a law allowing the 10 Commandments to go up in public school districts. And right now, a judge has said no to that. A judge has preliminarily said, no one can put it up. I will issue my final ruling later. And a coalition of church-state separation groups has already sued to put a stop to that, and they have been successful. Well, when that coalition filed a lawsuit, one of the plaintiffs in this lawsuit, they come, there you have it at the bottom there, from the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. So it's not that the district put up the signs, it's that there was a family that lives in that school district that said, unless a judge steps in, this school district is absolutely going to put up the 10 Commandments. So this is what we're talking about. This is what the board, the 6-1 conservative board, has prioritized over the past couple of years. And here's where it gets interesting, because 3 of those conservative seats were up for re-election on Tuesday. I already said it was a 6-1 conservative supermajority. The one liberal wasn't up for re-election, but 3 of the conservatives were. And in late September, there is a local church, a mega church in Houston called Glorious Way Church. The pastor literally gets up on stage and says, hey, mega church, there are some big elections coming up. I need you to vote for these 3 conservative candidates. And who are they? Radele Walker, George Edwards, and our favorite, Natalie Blasingame. In fact, Let me show you what that looked like at church.
We have some business to take care of this morning. I would like to invite our 3 school board candidates from Cypress-Fairbanks ISD to please come forward and take the stage. I want them to greet you for just briefly.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Natalie Blasingame, and I'm a mother. I'm an incumbent. I've been on the board serving you for 4 years, but more than anything, I'm a Christian. I've been in schools for 32 years, and when God gave me an assignment, you talked about it, He literally told me on an airplane that the role was to tear down the over-interpretation of separation of church and state in our schools, as clear as day. And at the time, I was supervising high schools in Houston ISD, and guess what? I am one bold chick, okay? I can do things, but guess what? That actually gave me a little bit of trepidation. I was like, God, that's a big assignment. And that was back in 2015, guys. We're still in the war, but it's now. The time is now. I thank Glorious Way Church for your boldness to take a stand today.
You count Christine, and you count these 3 right here, and on a board of 7, just with what we have in the room, that would be a majority to get God's mission accomplished in that school board. You are officially endorsed by Glorious Way Church. But we are just taking the fight up another level. I don't care what the IRS says about this. I don't care about the Johnson Amendment. We're endorsing candidates when we find the right ones. And so you're officially endorsed.
They don't care about the Johnson Amendment because the IRS has said under Trump, we're just ignoring if churches make political endorsements. But did you hear what Blasingame said? First of all, God told her on an airplane that her role was to tear down the over-interpretation of separation of church and state in the schools. And by over-interpretation, she means like the plain reading of the Establishment Clause. And he also mentioned Christine in the audience. That's Christine Kalmbach, who is one of the other conservatives. So all 3 of those people on stage were on the ballot on Tuesday. And going up against them, check this out. This is the promotional flyer for these 3 candidates, Kendra Camarena, Leslie Gilmart, and Cleveland Lane Jr. The 3 of these people said, we are sick and tired of the conservatives controlling this school district and turning everything into some Christian culture war. So vote for all 3 of us. And look at what they say here. Kids over politics. No book bans, no bus cuts. They cut bus routes in this district. No bull, just no nonsense leadership to foster student success now and in the future. Yes, they're committed to safe schools. They want to make this district a destination for parents. Very nice. Okay, so these are the people who are saying, we are so sick and tired of these conservatives. Please vote for us. And guess how this played out on Tuesday? Let me show you this. Radele Walker, one of those conservatives at the church. Let me zoom out a little bit here. She was defeated. She got 33% of the vote. Well, Gilmart, the liberal, got over 50. One defeated. What about this one? Natalie Blasingame, 34% of the vote, but Cleveland Lane Jr. got 44.79% of the vote. She's defeated. And this last one down here, I'll remove me. George Edwards Jr., 38% of the vote, but Camarena, 49%. He's defeated as well. All 3 of those conservatives lost the election. And that means the 3 people on this slate and that one sole member of the board who is liberal, they now have a 4-3 majority on this school district. That is freaking awesome. And I saw this article this week. Cypress ISD trustee election could be a referendum on conservative policies in suburban schools. And check this out. Over the last few years, a red wave captured several Houston area school boards. In Katy ISD, Clear Creek, and Fort Bend, conservative majorities took hold, but those same school boards have seen a recent swing back to the center of the political spectrum because all those moms for liberty ladies who are like, well, take over and save our kids from the scourge of books and reading. People are sick and tired of that shit. And I love this right here. Those are our here we go. Those three that I mentioned earlier, they said they're running as the pro-public education slate. We all have current students in the district. We all currently have skin in the game, Gilmard said. The other slate, the conservatives, they do not. The other slate is not entirely made up of educators. And they also, again, are not advocating to our elected officials for the level of funding we need. This is interesting, too. 4 years ago, when Blasingame and Henry were first elected, Gilmard and other parents formed the nonpartisan group Cy-Fair Civic Alliance, now something else, to protect local public schools from political and religious extremists. With our then 6-1 extremist board majority, when they voted to cut bus routes and then spent the summer censoring instructional materials, Gilmard said, I just got really fed up and decided I wanted to run at that point. And that is hero talk right there. Because this is the problem. You have people like those people standing up in the church who have no experience and no business running a public school district, but they have all the confidence to do it. And they have this huge built-in system of votes waiting for them. Meanwhile, you will have liberals with like PhDs who are like, well, I'm not the smartest person in the room, so maybe I should stay quiet. So every now and then, you see these local community activists who are like, oh my God, we need to stop bullshit happen in my town. Who's going to do it? And every now and then, they step up. And in some cases like this one, they win. And my God, I don't know these people, but I'm so proud of them. It's such a joy to read that story. I love it. And, maybe God is sending the people in that church a sign. Get out of the public schools if you don't want to help them. The public school district is not a place for your religious zealotry. So that is great news. Voters looked at this school board hijacked by religious crusaders and said, we're done with this. They saw how these self-appointed culture warriors just traded science for scripture and replaced librarians with like book censorship committees. And then they took back their schools. So good. I'm so happy to see that. Was there anything else here? I mean, there are plenty of other school districts still poisoned by conservative extremists using similar playbooks, but this is how you defeat them. It's not going to happen overnight. You need to build your coalition. You need to work together. Those three said, vote for all of us. Either we're all going to win or we're all going to lose. That's how this works. And they trusted each other. And now the third largest school district in Texas belongs to people who actually want it to succeed. That is fantastic. Turns out ballots are more powerful than any sermon. I will stop there with this one. What other questions we got here? Sweep. Absolutely. Good news. It was a sweep on Tuesday for progressives in general. Good day. If they don't care about the Johnson Amendment, why would they care about church-state separation? Yeah, very good point. The Constitution doesn't matter if you're a Republican now. It's a suggestion. You don't have to follow it. The pendulum is swinging back. I mean, I did get excited on Tuesday, but we're not there yet. We got to keep going. It's a good start. One of the most exciting things I saw, there's a group called Run for Something, which basically encourages random people who are progressives to like, hey, you're the person that can change this. Go run for school board, city council, whatever, and we will help you do it. And I think they reported after Tuesday, they had like thousands of signups in the day after the Tuesday elections, which is awesome. I mean, how many people ran for office everywhere after Donald Trump got elected in 2016, after the Women's March? I mean, my congresswoman said she decided to run for Congress because of the Women's March in early 2017. Like, that stuff activates good people. That's why I so hate the people who were dismissive of the No Kings rallies, like the couple times they've happened, because they're like, well, there's no concrete demands. You're just walking in a circle. You're getting your photo ops. It doesn't mean anything. No, it does. That's the shit that excites the base, that encourages people to get involved. You need that enthusiasm. So don't dismiss that stuff. They might learn something that challenges their fixed values. Actual quote from Texas School Board. I mean, I don't doubt that. Yeah, that's the problem. They don't want kids learning stuff that might challenge whatever they're learning in church.